The Godox No LED TP4R pixel tubes are comparable to some of the highest end cinema pixel tubes on the market today. The Godox TP4R pixel tubes put out 765 lux at 1 meter with built-in diffusion filters and 120 minutes of runtime at 100% power output. They are easily controlled and synchronized together via the Godox Lite app, DMX521 and CRMX control. These tubes are built for professionals with a CCT range from 2000 Kelvin to 10,000 Kelvin with 100 Kelvin increments. Hue adjustment from 0 to 360 degrees enables the user to create millions of different color combinations. The tubes have 14 built-in lighting effects for fast programming and 3 additional effects: chase, flow, and fade, as well as the usual CCT mode, HSI mode, RGB mode, and color gel replications, enabling the user to quickly program in whatever effects they may require. So in front of me here, I have the Godox TP4R. I've had the last 2 months to test it out as a freelance cinematographer here in Australia. I've really put this through its paces. RGB pixel tubes are really revolutionizing the independent filmmaking world. Not only do you not have to carry these huge, massive HMI lights, but you can basically ask any person who's on set to just hold the light and they're acting as a C-stand. You can have one on opposite end of the subject with a different color. And you can get some really amazing images from these guys. All right, so the first thing that's included obviously is you get your 4 RGB Godox pixel tubes, and these bad boys are built to last. They're shock resistant to up to 1 meter. You can get them wet, they're waterproof, so if you're shooting inside and you're lighting a scene through a window and it starts sprinkling, you don't have to stress out anymore. Your gear's safe, and not only that, but the menu systems are super easy to navigate around. There's nothing worse than having a light that's not intuitive, but I really think Godox has nailed it with their menu system. So also included in the kit, you get these eyelet bolts, which you can use for mounting, as well as this cable. Basically, you just put the cables together like this. Is probably the simplest way of mounting. You screw that off like so, and if you've got, you know, like in my garage here, we've got shelves and there's so many different options of hanging these guys. Even in the back, if you have a look, we've got my Godox TL60, which is just gaffer taped onto the roof of my tool shed there. And another great feature of the Godox pixel tubes is these amazing chargers. So I can basically come home, I can get these out of my work truck and I can plug them all in while they're still in the case. So I just open the case up at the end of the day. I'll demonstrate for you here. So I just plug these guys in here, like so, and I can just charge them and I can go to sleep knowing that everything's being charged. There's nothing worse than having 4 pixel tubes and they all need to be charged independently. It really stresses me out. This way I can come home, open the case, charge 4 of them simultaneously, wake up in the morning to go for a shoot, pack them back in the car and rinse and repeat. Another great feature about these guys is the battery life. I've honestly not had to even plug these in on set. Most of the times I'll leave this charger at home. I'm gonna get there and my tubes are gonna be fully charged. So another amazing feature about the Godox TP4R RGB pixel tubes is that they are full RGB pixel tubes, which basically means you have so many more options of color reproduction compared to a bicolor, but you can get so many more different color options that if you do design, you know, your colors on the computer and you just want to punch in the X and Y values, it's super easy. Another amazing feature for independent filmmakers, and this goes for me a lot of the time. Sometimes I'm shooting solo and, you know, I'm behind the camera and I just want to be able to control the lights, and there's nothing better than having a great app like the Godox Lite app. I can control all 4 of them independently. I can change levels, I can change the light temperature. It's an amazing feature. And not only that, but as these are pixel tubes, it has 32 different channels, so I can program it however I see fit, whether I want to simulate, a moving vehicle by putting these above the window and you're getting those like driving shots. The possibilities are really endless with these guys, and I really think Godox has nailed it with the build quality of these. Godox has just sent me the new M600 bicolor light. It's time to unbox this bad boy. So I thought I would break down 3 scenes that I've lit entirely with these pixel tubes and my Godox M600 bicolor light. Just to give you guys a couple of real world scenarios of how you can really maximize using the Godox pixel tubes. Okay, so for the first scene, I thought I would break down a night for day scene. I use this sort of technique a fair bit. With a small minimal crew, it's incredibly difficult to control the sun. So one way you can get around this is by shooting in the nighttime, but making it look like it's at the daytime. First light that I set up was a Godox M600 bicolor light, and I just had that simply bouncing off a 4x4 ultra bounce through a set of shears that I've gaffer taped to the window. Shears are an ultimate way to just hide any light fixtures and sort of magician's trick to hide any lights or C-stands that you might have outside of a window. Next, I noticed that the kitchen, in comparison to the rest of the room, was quite low in level, and it was kind of giving away the fact that I was shooting from a light source rather than the sun. So I used a TP4R directly into the kitchen to give a little bit more level, to make it look more realistic, as if the sun was to come through a window, it wouldn't simply point directly at the subject, it would fill more of the room. Next, I noticed that the subject had a little bit too much contrast on either sides of the face, so I used 2 more TP4R Godox tubes set to 5500 Kelvin to give a little bit more wrap around the face. The thing that makes the Godox TP4Rs so versatile is I was just sitting these lights on the dining room table chairs, which is super easy to do. I just sat them there and away we were. I think I lit this scene in about 30 minutes. So in a professional setting, speed is awesome. And with minimal crew and minimal effort, you can have a great looking image. Scene number 2. Look, I really wanted to challenge myself by trying to make the subject lit, not only by the moonlight, but by having practical lights such as candles. The M600 bicolor light was turned all the way down to 0.1%, and I was able to set this up through the window. And to give a more realistic approach, it was quite windy outside, so I simply strapped on a couple of leaves around the light, and as the wind blew, it looked like it was the moonlight going through some trees and giving a little bit of movement to the key light. Next up, I was able to grab my pixel tubes, the TP4R. I just sat them on a chair and wrapped a shear over the top of them just to give it a little bit more softer light. I was able to grab the Godox Light app and program the candlelit function, where I'm able to change the intensity, the frequency, to give you a more of a chilled out vibe, as it was kind of a slow scene. And the color temperature of the candle light was 4300 Kelvin. And last, I was able to set up the Godox TP4R. I had remote access to the lights through the window, and I was able to program in the correct settings to get this cool lightning effect. The color temperature of the lightning was 6500 Kelvin, and the white balance of the camera was set to 5600 Kelvin, which allowed you to get a little bit of color contrast between the candles and also the lightning and moonlight outside. Next, I pumped the room full of haze. This gave a cool effect to all of the lightning coming through the window, and it gave you those really cool beams of light. So the third and final scene that I'm gonna break down was an outdoor commercial I shot for an energy bar product. The first thing I do is put the camera in position and do any final tweaks for blocking. And once I'm happy with the composition, the next thing I do is try to work on the things that I can't control. So as I was backlighting the product, I wanted to change the light quality. So I put up a 4x4 silk, blocking the sun's backlight and changing the light quality, making it a lot softer on the backlight of the product. Next, I was able to set up an ultra bounce, which bounced the light into the light side of the product, giving a little bit more lift and a little bit more level. Finally, I whipped out my trusty Godox TP4R pixel tubes. And this is where I find I'm using the Godox pixel tubes time and time again, whether it's getting someone to hold them or I'm simply leaning them against a rock, as I did in this scenario. I set both of the pixel tubes to to 100% at 5500 Kelvin, and I was able to get a little bit more lift on the product, helping it stand out from the background. Okay, so that comes to the end of the video. I just want to thank you all for viewing this. I want to thank Godox for sending me the TP4Rs and the M600 bicolor light. It's something I'm really looking forward to using in all of my shoots moving forward. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.